Welcome to another episode of You Gonna Learn Today. On this episode, we're talking about the history of the highway system and its connection to black people. Let's go. The idea of strategic planning for a highway system has its genesis in 1916, yet the project is named after President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Eisenhower championed the Federal Aid Highway Act in 1956, which granted funding to the highway system project, but he was not president in 1966 when the idea first came about. Eisenhower was an officer stationed in Germany, and he had seen the effectiveness of having a highway system, but he did not come up with the idea. The idea was born in 1916 after a series of events that showed the U.S. government that it needed an effective way to move troops and supplies in the event of. The question is, what were those events? World War I started in 1914. Congress sold the idea of a highway system to the people using a fear tactic. They told the American people that America needed a highway system to quickly move troops and supplies in the event of an invasion. The only problem was the fact that there was no threat of an invasion from a foreign government. The enemy was Germans, Austrians, Ottomans, and Bulgaria, none of which were in a position to invade the United States. So the idea of a highway system was sold to the public out of fear. Many in the black community subscribed to the belief that the more sinister reason the government decided they need a highway system was because of a series of events that happened prior to that, which compelled the government to make provisions for what could happen next. If we jump back in history, we can see that America had a serious problem with racial riots and unrest. From the riots in Atlanta in 1906 to Illinois to Texas and beyond, racial conflicts were an explosive part of the American culture. Due to extremely high tensions in race, rebellions often flared at a moment's notice, often from police brutality, inequality, and injustice. Ironically, the same issues which we're rebelling against today. Each one of these early 1900 riots showed the United States government that it was not prepared logistically to move in federal troops if needed due to a lack of a highway system. After the government studied this observation, they drew the conclusion that a highway system was the best practice in order to open the logistical lines to move troops and supplies across the United States. The highway system was disguised as a deterrent against foreign incursion, while actually it was a method of control. The government called on General Blackjack Pershing to draw a map that he deemed, from the U.S. Army's perspective, the best routes that connected urban developments, military facilities, and any other centers of gravity. This map covered 20,000 miles and became known as Pershing's map. The government adopted Pershing's map, and President Dwight D. Eisenhower championed the construction of the highway system. And that is the genesis of what we now know today as the Dwight D. Eisenhower transportation system. Now you know.